departments and universities, and the teachers can go and watch it there, okay?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay,
that's good.
Anyone waiting? Okay, so are there no one waiting here, Simon? Can you see
Not
them
at the
now?
moment, no.
No. So, wait or start? Wait a few more minutes. Wait a few minutes and then. Okay.
I think we have 25 participants plus you and I.
Mm-hmm. Simon, I hope later on it would be possible to make a face-to-face seminar or meeting here.
Let's hope so. Yes.
In Erzurum. It would certainly be better, yeah?
Definitely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, when everything is better, then definitely I would be very happy to come.
And maybe later on, you know that also CELTA S and CELTA P, yeah?
Yes.
For Milli Eğitim, our teachers have we can, and also in February or March, organize something about for those teachers who would be interested in CELTA S and CELTA P.
Sure. Yeah, we can arrange that. Yeah. No problem at all.
And also maybe for our students, you know that in our university we have English Language and Literature Department and Education Faculty, and so maybe online or face-to-face, maybe one of them would be possible.
Yeah, that's
just
a very
for
good
our
idea.
Students to make them familiar about these qualifications, and so if they get, you know, that these qualifications, it would help them to get a better job and open lots of opportunities. So it would be better to do something for our students also about both CELTA, Delta, and CELTA S and CELTA P also, I think that.
Yep, we can arrange that definitely, yes.
Okay.
That would be great. So I think we have 30
Let's start if you want, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, arkadaşlar hepsi tanıdık. There's no need to talk in English. Arkadaşlar Atatürk Üniversitesi Uluslararası Dil Sınavları Koordinatörlüğü ve Ankara'dan Anatolia Training Institution olarak düzenlediğimiz bu CELTA ve Delta programına hoş geldiniz diyorum. Uluslararası Dil Sınavları Koordinatörlüğü'nü biliyorsunuz, bir sürü uluslararası dil sınavı organize ediyoruz ama biraz da misyonumuzu değiştirip sadece sınav yapmak değil, bu eğitimleri, bu sınavları öğrenci hazırlayan hocalarımız, sizleri ve bizleri de daha donanımlı yapabilmek için özellikle teacher professional development tarzında olabilecek programların da tanıtımını, bilgilendirmesini yapmaya çalışıyoruz. Bu da onlardan bir tanesi. Aslında Simon hakkında fazla bir şey söylememe gerek yok. Ekrana gerekli bilgiyi fazlasıyla doldurmuş ne olduğuna dair. Ben üniversitem adına ve kurumum adına, sizler adına öncelikle Simon'a bu sunumu yapmayı kabul ettiği için teşekkür etmek istiyorum. So Simon, it's your show.
Okay. Mahsur yoksa İngilizce devam edebilir miyim?
No problem. Yeah,
Okay.
it's better.
I mean, if when we have questions, if anybody would like to ask questions in Turkish, that's fine. That's fine also. So I'd like to start by thanking Cengizhan Hoca for kindly arranging this webinar. I know it's very, very difficult these days to have any meetings at all because we're all suffering from the pandemic. So you know, at least it's nice to meet you all this way. But I hope in the future we'll have the chance to meet face to face in different settings. Okay, so the main thing I wanted to talk about today really was CELTA and DELTA. So as Anatolia Training Institute, we do many different things. Part of what we do is CELTA and DELTA, but we also have other special tailor-made training for different institutions. So for example, 2 years ago, we designed a course for Metu College, which we ran in 4 or 5 of their schools in different cities. So we can do different things, but the main purpose today is really to talk about CELTA and DELTA. Obviously, I don't know you all. I don't know where you're all working, but maybe when we ask questions, we can talk more. So I'm gonna talk about CELTA and DELTA, and maybe what we can do is at the end we can leave time for questions, so that you know, I'm happy to stay after the time and continue answering questions. Okay, so we'll start off, if I can get the machine to work. Okay, so I don't know how much you know about Cambridge and Cambridge qualifications. Obviously, there are lots of different bodies that run qualifications. You may be familiar with Cambridge for exams for students, but also for exams for teachers. So many things that Cambridge do around the world for schools, for teachers, for students. So that's quite important. By the way, I can make the slides available to you later. So I think Cengizhan Hoca has your email, so I can send the slides to you all as an email later. So don't worry about writing everything down.
And also we will put this webinar to our YouTube channel also. Yeah.
Okay, lovely. That's really good. Yeah, so I'm just going over this a little bit. This is really a bit of information about Cambridge and what Cambridge do. I think the last point is quite important, that Cambridge qualifications are recognized all over the world, not only in Turkey, but in other countries as well. So that's something very, very important. Yeah. So I think one of the important things really is that Cambridge qualifications, if you have a qualification from Cambridge, then it's really, really important. So I think there are many people around the world who can get a qualification from Cambridge, and wherever you go, when people see that qualification, you know, it carries the same value. So you can take the qualification in London, or you can take it in Erzurum. It's the same qualification. It doesn't make any difference. So that's quite important. Sorry, my screen is freezing a little bit. Okay, so today we'll talk about CELTA and DELTA. Sometimes it's difficult to remember what they are and which one is important. We can think of CELTA as certificate and DELTA as diploma. So CELTA is more a low level, and DELTA is a higher level, like a master's level qualification. Okay, so CELTA is a course that originally was designed for people who wanted to become teachers. So in many countries in the world, it's possible to study English language teaching at university, but in some countries, like in England, for example, you can't study that at university. So you can study to become a teacher, but if you want to become a specialized teacher in teaching English, then you take a CELTA course. So the course generally is designed for people who have very little experience of teaching. But what we find these days is a lot of teachers who are already teaching also want to take CELTA. So I worked at Bilkent University for 20 years, and we used to get new teachers every year, maybe 20, 30 new teachers. A lot of them were graduates from METU or Gazi University or Hacettepe, but still we would make them take a CELTA course at the beginning of their time. And what some teachers said to us is we've learned more in 4 weeks than we did in 4 years. Of course, that's not true, because at university you learn lots of theoretical things, but on CELTA you learn a lot more practical things. So the main things that are focused on are these really. So all of the general areas of teaching, but CELTA is much more focused on practice. So you don't have to read lots of books, you don't have to write academic assignments. It's really all about how do you teach and helping you to maybe change some of the ways that you teach and become more communicative, more interactive with students. Yeah. So it says here that employers ask for CELTA. So for many, many years in Turkey, we've been trying to work with YÖK and with the Ministry of Education to have CELTA and Delta recognized because of the denklik, the equivalency issue. Until recently, it's been quite difficult, but these days it is now starting to be accepted by different bodies. So YÖK, for example, now requires CELTA if you're a teacher at university in Turkey, but you're not Turkish. So if you're a native speaker or you're from Iran or Canada or some other country, now YÖK are requiring CELTA. And the Ministry of Education are also starting to recognize and starting to encourage that. So that's something very, very important. As you can see there, around the world in different countries, you find that many adverts for job applications for English teachers require CELTA. So that's a kind of benchmark almost. Yeah. Sorry, Mike. Okay. Every time I let somebody in, it freezes my my screen a little bit. Sorry about that. Okay, so what's quite interesting is that until this year, and so until COVID-19, CELTA had to be face-to-face. So we were able to run part of CELTA as a blended course, but the teaching had to always be face-to-face. But because of COVID, we are now able to have CELTA completely online. So the classes are online, so the teachers will be teaching students online and we will be observing online. So that's a really good opportunity. And at the moment, Cambridge have said until June 2021, we can still do these courses online. So that's a really good opportunity for people who are working maybe not in big cities, because in Turkey normally it's Ankara, Istanbul and Izmir have places where you can take CELTA. So if you're living in another city, you have to usually travel to Ankara or Istanbul or Izmir and stay for 4 weeks or 5 weeks to take a course, which of course is very difficult when you have a family. So now it's being offered online. We have teachers from many different cities in Turkey, also from different countries who are joining CELTA, which is a good opportunity. Yeah. So different ways that the course can be run. So it can be full-time. So usually in the summer we run CELTA over 4 weeks or 5 weeks, but that can be face-to-face or it can be online. So it's also possible to do a course part-time over a few months. So sometimes we run the course over, say, 3 months, and a lot of the work is done in your own time, but we have some online Zoom sessions, but the full time usually involves being free every day, a whole day for 4 weeks. And then sometimes it can be blended as well. So usually the CELTA course has about 120 hours of study. So if it's online, you do that when you have your time. So if you're free in the evening, you work at the evening. If you're free at the weekend, you work at the weekend. And there are materials that you do online. You watch videos, you look at materials, you do tasks. And then you learn really a lot of things that if you're teaching already, you probably know a lot of the theory, but you will be seeing different ways of putting the theory into practice. So for example, when we do a session on, for example, teaching reading, we don't just talk about reading, we demonstrate through like a demo lesson, we show activities and try and make it a little clearer that way. Okay, and the main thing really is real practice with real students. So with CELTA, we create the classes, so we have classes of real students. So these are not students at university, these are students, they could be summer students, maybe some are housewives, some are businessmen, for example, who want to learn English. And when you take CELTA, you teach these students. So it may be a very new experience from the students that you teach on a regular basis. Yeah, so that can be quite interesting. And thinking of the whole world, you know, there are many people taking CELTA throughout the whole world. So it says there about 850 different courses throughout the world every year. I don't know the exact figure in Turkey, but it's probably about 30 different CELTA courses which take place in Turkey, in Ankara, in Istanbul, in Izmir. So that's something that's very important. And as I said, it's recognized internationally. So if you have a CELTA certificate, it's valid for all of your life. It's not like a TOEFL or IELTS where every 2 years you need to take it again. If you have CELTA from 40 years ago, it's still recognized today. It's still valid as a qualification. Yeah, so that's something I think that's very important. I wanted to put this here because I don't know how many of you are teachers who are interested in taking courses, and how many of you are, for example, directors or heads of department who are thinking about your teachers. But something we find is that because we work very closely with teachers, in some universities, we see teachers who took CELTA 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and we see them later. We see how they improve. We talk to the directors, for example, they say, oh yeah, these teachers took CELTA last year, they're much better now. So some of the things that they tell us is that teachers are much more confident after CELTA. So sometimes teachers will say, for example, I didn't learn lots of new ideas, but I now feel confident in what I'm doing. Before I was doing lots of things, but I didn't know if it was correct or it was not correct. But now I feel confident because I've taken CELTA. I know that what I'm doing is very good. Sometimes teachers tell us that after CELTA, they're much better able to analyze their students and think, what are the difficulties that students have? What are the problems that students have with, for example, learning present perfect or doing listening, for example. So they tell us that that's something very important. They also say that they're much better at planning their lessons, but also using different techniques in the classroom. So I think when we first become teachers, we're taught so many things, we can't actually use all of these things in our normal teaching, and maybe some things we forget. But when we take CELTA, we remember those things, we see them again, and things may be very different from how they were 10 years ago, and we're able to maybe use some different techniques. We may be able to use technology in different ways, for example. And I think also thinking about how we teach, sometimes we teach without really thinking so much why we're doing something in a certain way. So we've always taught this way. And after CELTA, we may be able to think, aha, I'm doing this because, or I'm going to do some group work here because I think it's going to be really useful for the students. So teachers often tell us that they're still the same teacher after CELTA, but the students would notice that they're more confident, they're trying out different things. And if you have a group of teachers from the same school or the same university taking CELTA, we find that that really helps, you know, the teachers' room. When the teachers come together, they're talking a lot more about teaching, they're talking a lot more about students, and that can kind of help to improve the culture in the school and make people much more interested in learning, interested in staff development, professional development. So that's something that we can think about. So in terms of how it might actually work, so how we run CELTA, I mean, you don't have to take CELTA with us if you want to do CELTA. You can do it in Istanbul, you can do it in Izmir. But if you did want to do it with us, then our website is on the slide, so I'll show that to you later. So one way of doing CELTA is to do it part-time over about 3 months. So during this 3 months, you would have your normal job, you would be doing your normal teaching, but part-time, maybe evenings or maybe weekends, you will be doing some work each week towards CELTA. Yeah, and at some time we have 2 weeks of what we call teaching practice. So teaching practice is really the most important part of CELTA. So what happens is we observe you teaching 8 times. So you would be teaching maybe 2 grammar lessons, some vocabulary lesson, reading lesson, speaking lesson, writing lesson, listening lesson maybe. And over the 2 weeks, we look at how you improve and how you get better during that time. So the 2 weeks is full time. So usually we arrange the 2 weeks at a time when it's a semester break, for example. So at the end of this month, a lot of universities have a semester break. So the CELTA courses that we have at the moment that are running now, they will have 2 weeks of teaching practice during their semester break. And we will have a course starting in April, and the 2 weeks of teaching practice will be near the end. They will be in June. So hopefully, you know, your teaching would have finished by then, and you would be able to concentrate on the teaching practice. So it can be part-time, but it can also be full-time. Oops, sorry. It can also be full-time in the summer. So because we realize that many teachers are very busy during the year, but usually July and August, most universities have a break, 1 month or 2 months break. So some people would take the course in July, some people would take the course in August, for example. And that requires either 4 weeks or 5 weeks full-time. So this year, probably we will have online, but it will still be full-time for 4 weeks or 5 weeks. And what happens there is that the teaching practice is every day. So for example, the morning, you might have like the input sessions, and the afternoon would be teaching. So we would have, like I said, specially created classes. So when we do it face-to-face, we we run the course at TED University in Ankara. And we use some students from TED University, some students from outside, and we create different classes of different levels. And when you take CELTA, you, as I said, you do some teaching during the course. So it's a full-time course. Yeah. So if you're an individual teacher alone who would be interested, then you can apply to take the course. If you are a group of teachers working in the same school or the same university, it's possible to arrange a special group for you. So we can do that. An advantage of a special group is that you can get a discount, which is really important. But also we can make the program suit your schedule. So for example, we have a group at the moment from Çağ University in Mersin, or Tarsus, who are doing CELTA, and we've arranged their program, the teaching practice, according to when they have a break. So they will have 1 week in February, 1 week in April, for example. So we can arrange that according to their program. So sometimes we have group courses from the same university. So before we have run groups in Karabük, in Antalya, for example, in Eskişehir. But sometimes if there's only 2 or 3 of you, then you can apply for any course. Yeah. And just in terms of numbers, last year we had a total of 74 teachers taking CELTA, mostly from Turkey. So probably about 60 of these teachers were from Turkey. And the others were from many different countries. So we had like Morocco, Saudi Arabia, India, from England also. So many different people taking the courses. Yeah. So that's a kind of rush through CELTA. So if it's okay with you, can I continue with Delta? And then if you have questions about CELTA, if you save them, and we can ask all the questions at the end, is that okay?
Yes, sir, that would be really good.
Okay, great. So if you have questions, like I said, I'm very happy to to stay later if we have a lot of questions. Yeah. So this is CELTA. So the next thing is Delta. So as I said at the beginning, Delta is more a diploma. It's a higher level than CELTA. Yeah. So we often think of Delta as being master's level. So in England, for example, Delta is accepted as being a master's level qualification, but it's at the level, but it's not as big as a master's. So it's about like 40% of a master's, but it's kind of master's level in that there is a lot more reading and writing involved than there is with CELTA. So CELTA is much more practice-based. Delta is more of a blend of theory and practice. So obviously we can discuss more. So with Delta there are 3 modules. You can take each module separately. You can do all the modules or just some of the modules. So each module that you do, you get a certificate. And if you finish all 3 modules, you get a full certificate. So you get a certificate for each module. Yeah. So people who take Delta, sometimes they're teachers who are already good, experienced teachers, but they're thinking about maybe promotion. So they're thinking of maybe becoming a teacher trainer or wanting to become a head of department, something like that. Sometimes it's just teachers that sometimes in their career, maybe they've been teaching 4 or 5 years, maybe 10 years, maybe even 15 years. And sometimes we have what we call a plateau effect, that we feel we've kind of improved and we've reached somewhere and we're just staying at the same level and we don't feel that we're learning anything new. That's something I hear quite often from teachers who apply to do DEL. They say, yeah, I learned really quickly in my first years of teaching, but I feel that I'm becoming a bit bored. I need something a bit new to encourage me, and that's why they apply for Delta. Yeah. I mentioned before that I worked at Bilkent for 20 years. One thing we did at Bilkent, we had Delta, and we also created our own master's program, and we put Delta inside the master's program. So it was about 40% of the master's. And we did that for about 10 years. That was very, very good. There are universities in Turkey and also abroad who do sometimes accept Delta as some credit towards some of the master's courses. But it's something that we're working on a lot more, trying to encourage more people to accept it. Yeah. So I think Delta can be, I mean, we've had people taking Delta who've only been teaching for 3 years, for example, still very, very new. But we have a lot of teachers taking it who've maybe been teaching for 10 years or maybe even longer. Yeah. Sometimes people say to me, oh, I want to do Delta, but I haven't done CELTA. Is that a problem? Do I have to do CELTA first? And we say no. If you already have CELTA, then that tells us that you have a very good base and that you will be very good on Delta. But probably 70% of the teachers who take Delta have never done CELTA before. So if you're already a good teacher and you've got plenty of experience, then we wouldn't force you to do CELTA first. That would be fine. Yeah. Yeah. So it's something that can maybe take your career to the next level. But sometimes it's not about promotion or changing your job. It could just be about you wanting to be more effective with your students. Maybe you feel that you've been trying lots of different things, but you feel you'd like some fresh ideas that will help you with your students a bit more. So I mentioned 3 modules. So you'll notice there 1, 2, and 3. And you'll notice that module 2 is in bold. That's because that's what I would say the main part of Delta. So this is about 80% of what Delta is. And this is the module that looks at your classroom teaching. Yeah. So module 1 is very theoretical. So basically you study and you take a written exam. Module 3, it's like a project really. You design a course for a group of students. Somebody's just asked me a question, Ali Kulunch, saying, can we get the slides? Yes, I will send you the slides. Yeah. Okay. So modules 1 and 3 can be mainly done online, and most teachers don't do module 1 and 3. So probably 80% of the teachers that do Delta with us, they do module 2, and they're quite happy. They pass module 2 and they say, okay, I don't need the other modules, I'm okay. Some teachers are really keen and they really want to do the other modules and they continue, but module 2 is really the most important one. And I think certainly if you're applying for a job in another university, they will look for module 2. So if you only have module 1, it doesn't tell you anything about you as a teacher. It just tells you that you took an exam, you studied, you passed the exam, but it's a bit like the old carpe diem, you know, it doesn't really tell you very much about the person's practice. So module 2 is where we observe you teaching, and that's really the most important part. So I'm going to talk a bit more about module 2, if that's okay. Okay. Again, information about different countries. So I think very similar to what we said about CELTA. So teachers who finish Delta, usually it's not just that they tell you they're more confident, they walk differently. So we work, like I said, with some universities where we see teachers every year and we see them next year, and the teachers who have done Delta, they just feel much more confident. They look much more confident, you know, in the school, but also when they're teaching as well. They seem to be much more aware of students. They're much better able to understand why the students are having problems. They're much better in terms of teaching. They're using lots of different techniques, lots of different things in the classroom. And perhaps most importantly, they know why they're doing things. So that if we ask them, why are you teaching that lesson that way, they can tell you immediately. But before Delta, they probably couldn't tell us that. So good news again is that until the pandemic, Delta Module 2 had to be done face-to-face. So anybody in Turkey wanting to do the course would either go to Istanbul or Ankara or Izmir in the summer and do the course for maybe 6 or 7 weeks, which is, you know, giving up maybe your whole of your summer holiday, which is very, very difficult. But at the moment, any course that starts before the end of May, it's possible to do Module 2 online. And that means that you can do it from any city in Turkey. You don't have to travel to Ankara or any other city at all. Yeah. So usually we run Delta Module 2 part-time. So at the moment we have 2 groups, one in Ankara, one in Karabük, who started in September, and they're going to finish in May. We're hoping to start a new course in February, which is going to be completely online. And this is something, I mean, we all hope that the pandemic goes away. But at the moment, we're allowed to run these courses online because of the pandemic. So if the pandemic stops, maybe in the future, we won't be able to run them online. Yeah. So that's something we'll be able to talk about. So when it's part-time, how does it work? Well, what we do, we have a set time each week. So it could be Thursday morning, it could be Friday afternoon, it could be Saturday morning. And we fix that time for the whole course. So we announce it and we agree that with all the participants. And we say, okay, the course will be, for example, Thursday mornings, and they make sure they talk to their head of department and make sure they're not teaching at that time. And then every week for 3 hours, we will have a Zoom session on a different topic. And then the classroom observations would be in your real classes. So they would be when you're ready. So unlike CELTA, which has 8 observations intensively, like every day, with Delta, you have to do 4 during the course, and they can be any time. It can be any time when you're ready. So this can be in your normal class. So for example, one teacher just before this session texted me and said, oh, can you come and observe me next week? I've got a class Tuesday morning. So I check my schedule. If I'm free, then we can arrange that observation. So for this one, you would be observed in your normal class, and you would choose, for example, if you've got 2 classes and you really like one class, but you don't like the other, you can say to us, can you please come for this class, the one that you like. Yeah. Module 1 and Module 3, we run them as online courses. These are usually 3-month courses. And online means that basically you do the work. When you do some tasks, you get feedback. And we have some optional Zoom sessions, but they're not compulsory, and you don't have to arrange your time accordingly. So Module 2 is the main one. And like I said, for CELTA, as an individual teacher, you can apply. So the course we're having in February, at the moment, we have somebody from Eskişehir, somebody from Gaziantep who have applied. And if your institution, your department has a group, it's possible to apply as a group for an existing course. So let's say there were 3 of you from one institution, and you said we would like to apply for this course as a group, then we can arrange this discount when there's possibility there. If you're a group of 6 or 8 or more, then we can arrange a special program for you. So that can be done anytime during the year. It can be any way you want. It could be intensive. It could be 3 months. It could be 6 months or 8 months. So there's a lot more flexibility. In the future, if the pandemic goes away, and we're all vaccinated and inshallah, yeah, we go back to a kind of normal life, it's possible to arrange tailor-made programs in Erzurum or in other cities. So, you know, if there was a group of you who were able to travel to Erzurum, or you were in Erzurum, for example, we could arrange a course that way. That's possible. And it could either be, it could be blended, so we could have, for example, weekly Zoom sessions. But when it comes to observing your classes, we could come to you to observe your classes. Or it could be we could arrange the program in the summer, if that was something that was interesting for you and fitted your program. Yeah. This year we had about 50 teachers taking Delta. Say this year, it's 2021 now, so last year. And I think of those 50 teachers, all of them are at the moment from Turkey. Because we can have an online course this year, we have had some people applying from Hong Kong, Brazil, India, but most of the teachers taking the course are Turkish teachers working at different institutions. So quite a lot to take in there. So let me just go back to the previous slide, if I can go back. Oops, sorry, it's frozen again. Okay. Okay, stop screen sharing. That's interesting. Sorry about this. Okay, that's where I was before the screen moved. So that was really a kind of quick run through these courses. I apologize, I'm probably speaking very quickly. When we have a seminar face-to-face, I can watch your faces and I can understand if I'm talking too quickly. With online, obviously, I can't do that so well. So apologies if I spoke too quickly and rushed and went through too quickly. But because we originally said we'd finish at 2:30, I was a bit, you know, feel a bit embarrassed about going over time. So I was maybe being a bit quick. So maybe this is a good time if you have any questions that you'd like to ask.
Sir, first of all, thank you for this presentation. It was lovely to hear, and you weren't speaking so fast. Everything was understandable, and you pretty much answered. Told about everything about CELTA and Delta. But you mentioned something about website. I think it was for applying for
yes.
CELTA and Delta. When will you gonna show it to us?
I can do it right now. Can you see that now on the screen?
Is it the www.et?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Yeah.
saw it.
So Ali had just asked a question about visiting Ankara. Ali, are you in Ankara? Aha, okay. You work at the Jandarma, huh? Okay. So if you contact me by email, so my email is there on the screen. So any of you who are in Ankara, we can arrange an appointment. That's quite easy to do. Yeah, because we have offices in different universities. So, for example, at Erzurum University, we have an office. You know, it's very easy for us to arrange to meet because Jandarma is very near to Erzurum. We can arrange that. Are there any questions? Please don't be afraid to ask. I mean, please, you know.
I'm at the Istanbul at the moment. How can I mean, there's a course in Istanbul too, right? I've heard
Yes,
that correct.
yeah. If you visit ITI in 4. Levent.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of the, I think it's Silatar Olu Sokak or something like that. But in 4. Levent, they have lots of CELTA courses. They have more than we do because in Istanbul, obviously, there are many more universities, so they get a lot more options. So if you're in Istanbul, you'll have a lot more options if you visit them. So if you go there and you ask to speak to Tom Godfrey, he's the director at ITI. He will help you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And I'm at the preparation class, so that doesn't affect anything, right?
No.
I can apply for it.
Which university are you at?
I'm at the Atatürk University, Erzurum.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. That's fine. I mean, I think CENGİZHAN Hoca mentioned at the beginning. I mean, if anybody is working in a prep school university, that's the perfect environment for taking CELTA or Delta.
Okay.
I would say 90% of the teachers who take Delta with us are working in prep schools. And for CELTA, probably half of them are working in prep schools. The other half are working usually in ministry schools, secondary schools.
Thank you.
Okay, so Nilgun's asking a question. Of course, is only for English teachers. Yes. So, I mean, it is possible if you are, for example, a teacher of French or German or Spanish, and you take CELTA, that can be very, very useful for you. But the purpose of taking CELTA is to be an English teacher. So if you're not going to teach English, then you can still take the CELTA, but you'll have to think that everything is about teaching English. So that would be something that it may or may not be so relevant for you. Can I just see there's another question? The difference between TESOL and CELTA. Okay, so CELTA is one course. So only Cambridge offers CELTA. So the CELTA course around the world is what we call standardized. So it's the same, you would have the same content and the same quality wherever you take the course around the world. TESOL, unfortunately, is not standardized. So there are many courses around the world that say they're TESOL. Some of them are very, very good. Some of them are much less good. So to give you an example, when I was working at Bilkent, we used to get some teachers coming from America or Canada every year. And we had to decide whether to offer them a job or not. And often they would say, I have a TESOL certificate. But we would have to ask for a transcript of what was on their course. And then we would look at the course and decide whether it was equivalent to CELTA. And some of the courses we said, yes, this course looks like a CELTA, we will accept it. And some of them we said, no, it's much too light, and we would not accept it. So that's why CELTA is more credible and more useful, because it's a standard qualification. Yeah. Okay. So there's a question. So an ELT student at Gazi, yeah, okay. So something, again, CENGİZHAN Hoca mentioned at the beginning, that it would be very useful if CELTA could be embedded in ELT, 4-year ELT programs. This is something, when I was at Bilkent, I spent years trying to persuade Ali Doramaca at the time to accept the idea. It's something we're having discussions with TED University, with Ankara University, to try and encourage this, because I think a lot of teachers, when they finish an ELT degree, some teachers want to go abroad and work somewhere else, and they think that CELTA would be very, very useful. So I think if you are going to graduate from Gazi University, I would say you don't have to take CELTA. It really depends where you would like to work. If you do take CELTA, then you will be kind of above the other graduates that you have. So if you graduate from Gazi with the ELT degree and you have CELTA, people will be much more interested in employing you, I think. Okay, so Nilgun, I was waiting for the question about how much the courses are. This is, of course, the very negative part about courses, because courses that are run by Cambridge, when we run the course, we have to pay Cambridge a fee for every person who takes the course. So it does mean that we're not able to make the courses cheap, really. So at the moment, CELTA is this is a normal price without any discount or anything like that.
For Atatürk University, we will certainly have.
Oh yes, definitely, yeah. I mean, we have agreements with universities that we work with in Ankara, for example, that they send teachers every year. They have a discount, and we have teachers, for example. We had maybe a group 5 years ago, and we have one teacher coming from that university. That teacher still gets the discount. Yeah, but CELTA that we run at the moment is £1,200.
Yeah.
I think ITI is £1,300. I'm not sure. And Delta Module 2 is the same. We charge £1,200. Now, obviously, we live in Turkey, so the question is why do we have to have the prices in pounds? So we start off with the price in pounds because like I say, we have to pay Cambridge in pounds, and we have to pay some of our tutors. We have to pay them in pounds as well. But what we try to do is when you're accepted on a course, we say, okay, what is the exchange rate now? Let's make the price in Turkish lira, and usually we accept installments. So, for example, with Delta Module 2, the teachers who are taking that now, they're paying in 8 installments. And what we did at the start of the course is we said we will fix the amount in Turkish lira so that you pay every month in Turkish lira. You know exactly what you're going to pay, because the problem is if the installments are in pounds, then you think, well, how do I know what's going to happen in 2 months or 3 months? And that's risky. It's a bit like if you buy a house or a car and you take your credit from the bank in döviz, it's really risky. Yeah. So installments is certainly possible. So we have a company bank account. So if you take a course, then we send you the bank account details, and then we ask you to transfer money each month. If you start taking a course and you drop out of the course, we don't chase you for the rest of the money. So, I mean, it's always something with courses. Something may happen. You may start a course and then, it could be health problems or family problems, or it could just be that you say, I don't like it. It's not what I want. Then we don't chase you for other installments. There's no Senate or anything like that. I mean, it's difficult because when we arrange special courses that are not through Cambridge, then we can really bring the price down and make it much more manageable, because we're not having to pay any money to anybody else. But when it's a Cambridge course, it's like I said, we have to pay money to Cambridge all the time. That's why we have it in pounds. So when you go to our website, you will see all of the different options for courses. the dates and the prices. And obviously you don't have to take courses with us. So I mean, you know, I would advise that you look at, for example, ITI in Istanbul, because sometimes the dates of their courses may be more suitable to you. I mean, they may or may not offer you discount. That's something that you would have to discuss with them. There's a question here: is the time for each course fixed? So, if you are an individual teacher taking a course, then you would need to apply for one of the courses that we already have. If you're a group of teachers, we could arrange with you a special course at the time when you want it. Yeah. So it can be tailor-made like that.
Okay, Simon, can I ask another one?
Yeah,
so you know
yes.
that except CELTA and TELTA, I know that as ITI, you also do other qualified teacher training programs. Do you have some other teacher training programs except CELTA and TELTA?
Yeah, so we have a course called Cambridge Train the Trainer course. Mm-hmm. So this is training to become a teacher trainer.
Trainer, yeah.
Yep. So that at the moment we have one course running. Mm-hmm. So it's an 8-week course, part-time, mm-hmm. and it's online. Mm-hmm. So that's one course we have. We also have a course that we call ACELT, which is the ATI certificate in English language teaching, but we only run that for groups. So it's a tailor-made course, and we run it during the year part-time with different institutions. So last time we ran it with ODTÜ College, Meta College in Ankara, and we ran that over 12 months.
So what about TKT courses? Do we have also, you know, that also Cambridge also deliver this one?
Yeah, we don't at the moment, no.
Yeah, okay.
We don't have TKT, but TKT and ITI in Istanbul run TKT, so you could, anybody who's interested could apply there.
Okay. Any questions from our participants, I think? No, I think.
Okay, so yeah,
so I would like to say thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
So thank you for Simon for your participation. I hope we would plan or organize another one face-to-face with face-to-face organization, face-to-face seminar with this. Okay.
Let's hope so. Yeah, let's hope so.
Thank you for your kind presentation, and I hope we would like to see you again. Yes.
Yes, I hope so. I hope so. But thank you all for participating. Please contact me if you have any further questions, and you know, thank you all very much for giving up your time and participating.
And also, I will wait the recording to put it on our YouTube channel for our teachers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'll send that to you. Thank you very much again, GENGİZHAN.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Simon. Bye.
Okay. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Arkadaşlar, teşekkürler. Alo.
Thank you for this beautiful presentation.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Hı-hı.
I had to leave the meeting.
Teşekkür ederim. Bir online toplantıdayım ama.